After a $131 million spending spree, the Jets are going into bargain shopping mode. Is that the right decision? We talk about it with a special guest. Boy Green Daily starts right bleeping now.
I'm going to lose my gosh darn bananas. Boy Green Daily starts now. Zoinks!
Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily, Boy Green Daily. Let's go!
Put your seatbelts on. Get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, and we're built for this shit.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Paul Leston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video show, also available wherever you get your podcast. We're streaming live on my Heavy on Jets Facebook page, where I am the Jets digital reporter, Twitter at BoyGreen25, and YouTube /BoyGreen25. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe so you don't miss any of this juicy content, baby. But without further ado, let's go to the phone lines for our very special guest joining us on today's program. He's one of the best in the business, and he's back, baby. Our NYJ beat reporter, editor-in-chief for Athlon Sports, Nick Faria, joins us here on his Wednesday slot. Good morning, Nick.
Morning. Great to be back on.
Well, let's get right into it here. The Jets went on, as I described, a $131 million spending spree on 4 players. They retained one of their own in Jamie and Sherwood and spent a discount double check in the secondary, Brandon Stevens, Andre Cisco, and then they got their quarterback in Justin Fields. But according to ESPN's Rich Cimini, and thank God I still have Facebook for my parents and for potential Rich Cimini updates that he does not put on any of his other social media portals. I went, what the hoopla? Here, old Rich Cimini. Here is the update from Rich. Jets free agent update. This was last night. Quiet day. This is unusual for the Jets. You usually like to sneak into the market after the madness of day one. They're pretty active on Sunday and Monday, doling out about $90 million in guarantees. But now they're downshifting to bargain mode. A lot of fans had some interesting reactions to that last night on Twitter. I throw that to you. Is that the right decision by the Jets? Again, quote unquote, downshifting to bargain mode, it seems like throughout the rest of free agency.
Well, let's be quite clear. This is one of the weaker free agent classes that we have seen in quite some time. There was no can't-miss player without question marks, surrounding them. So when I look at what the Jets did to start free agency, I looked and said, hey, that's a really strong start. They picked up a quarterback that they feel they can win with for the 2025 season. He is your bridge guy. He's not going to be in a quarterback competition. He is QB1. I think we all can understand that. But then you bring in some value guys in Brandon Stevens and Andre Cisco. When Stevens comes in, he struggled a bit at times in Baltimore, but he also had some highlights as well. He had some high points, so I think he can be developed into a quality player. And Andre Cisco, I'm pretty excited about him. If you're a fan of the Jets, you're looking for a ball-hawking safety that can make plays in the back end of the defense that you haven't really had in recent years. I look at him like a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who's younger and more physical. I really like the Cisco signing. I think it's fair. 1 year, $10 million, perfectly fair deal. And, of course, Jamie and Sherwood was a player they could not lose in free agency. You had to bring him back because the linebacker class was so weak, both in free agency and the draft. So you look at the Jets, and they figured and understood that they weren't going to probably draft a cornerback in the first round of the 2025 draft. They didn't fall in love with a quarterback in the 2025 NFL draft. And when you don't fall in love with either picks, then you better make sure that you have those needs situated and figure it out in free agency. That's exactly what they did. This free agent class is very weak. It has been weak. Everyone knew it. It's why you saw so many moves being made on Saturday and Sunday, because teams were trying to get ahead of the process so they weren't panicking, so they wouldn't be panicking. The Jets fans, even though they might, be upset about bargain shopping, that's where free agency is sometimes won and lost. That's how you build a championship contender sometimes, because those quick moves can ultimately help you win both now and in the future.
So I heard you say it, but I just want to make sure that it is unequivocal, without a shadow of a doubt. The Jets' investment in Justin Fields, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed. Do you believe that move that the Jets have made Oh, whoops. Sorry about that. That was dramatic. The question I was trying to get before I was so rudely cut off by the internet gods is again, and you mentioned it at the tail end of your answer, so I just want to make sure that it's very clear. The Jets' investment of Justin Fields, $40 million, $30 million guaranteed. Do you believe that completely eliminates the New York Jets from taking a quarterback in the first round, whether it's at 7, trading up, trading back, or anything of that nature?
I just don't think they fell in love with anybody. I said it before the combine. You know, if they fell in love with a quarterback, were they going to take one? If they fell in love with a quarterback in this draft class, were they really going to sign a free agent to a deal that's worth $15 to $20 million? You can't see that happening because that's just poor salary cap allocation for this year. You would want to have a cheaper option, a cheaper veteran that can lead the way, and they didn't do that. So, by signing Justin Fields to that 2-year deal and giving him close to $20 million per year. And again, I don't know the full cap ramifications, what his cap hit is for 2025, 2026. That's always important. But to give a player $20 million a year, that's not telling me that, oh, we think he's going to compete and we're okay with him sitting on the bench if he ends up losing a quarterback competition. You're not paying a guy $20 million to sit the bench. I mean, you're not the Atlanta Falcons. That they did a horrific job of handling their salary cap last year when they signed Kirk Cousins to this massive deal. You're paying him over $40 million, and then you sat him on the bench because you drafted a quarterback in the first round. I don't think the Jets are going to do that. I think it would be very foolish of them to do that because it's poor management. So I look at Fields as, yes, the unequivocal QB1. The money they are giving him is not quarterback competition money. I think what they'll say is, hey, we're going to have a competition at quarterback and we're going to compete, and he's going to have to compete to earn his spot. But it's kind of like where Justin Fields saw last year with Pittsburgh. You'll be in a quarterback competition, but Russell Wilson's going to be ahead of you to start that competition. You're going to have to do more to beat him out. I think that's what's going to happen, where Tyrod's going to have to do a little bit more to beat out Justin Fields. And that doesn't exclude them from taking a quarterback round 2, 3, 4, or 5. But I think it really knocks them out of taking one in the first round, because if they were that interested, they would have moved up and not signed anyone at this point, as opposed to what they did in free agency to start.
And I concur. Now, maybe Aaron Glenn, and again, I'm getting to know him again. Jet fans perhaps remember him as a player. Obviously, he's a different man now than he was then. So I'll be curious to hear how he portrays it. But my gut would say, compete. Everyone's competing for this, competing for that. But I think it is the wink compete. Like, for instance, Washington Commanders last year, the two that were competing for the QB1 job was Marcus Mariota. I use heavy quotes, by the way, for those just listening. Okay. They competed between Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota. And a lot of us eye rolled like, come on, man. What are we talking about? That's not a competition. That was like when Mark Sanchez competed with Mark Brunell's ancient hieroglyphic ass, for God's sakes, like back in like 2010. I mean, that was not a competition. So I agree. I don't think there's any competition action there. And you know what? We just have great fans. We got 300 plus people in the room. And my next question was basically asked in a couple of different comments. So I'll highlight them. Alan, good old Alan, who doesn't love a slice of Alan in the morning? He gives this comment. I heard there's a tryout at One Jets Drive for wide receivers 2 through 5, making some jokes about the Jets. But his jokes lead to I can't believe this is a serious question. Alan Lazard? The Jets haven't cut him yet. Is there a world where the Jets go, well, I guess he's going to be on this 90-man roster, and we'll see what happens, because the Jets have made zero activity at the wide receiver position. They were rumored to be interested in a few guys, but those players went elsewhere. I would have loved Darius Slayton. He goes to the Giants. Josh Palmer goes to the Bills. Is there a real chance that Alan Lazard is on this roster? Nick Faria?
Yes, there is, especially now. And I've got an article coming on Athlon Sports later this morning that dives into it. The salary cap hit still, I think it's around $13 million this offseason and next season. So there's going to be stuff to work out there. But you don't have any other option. I mean, there's really no other guy that you can trust as a number 2 or number 3 option. You look at the free agents available: Tyler Lockett, Stephon Diggs, guys that are coming off of injuries, guys that could be past their prime. Are they interested? And I think this is the bigger question. Are they interested in coming to the Jets and playing with a quarterback that can't throw the football or has had problems throwing the football and reading defenses as Justin Fields has had throughout his NFL career. That's a hard bargain. That's a hard prediction to make with quality receivers like that, even though they are past their prime. So I think there's a very good chance that Lazard sticks around for this offseason. I think there's a very good chance that the Jets could be in the receiver market in the NFL draft, whether they fall in love with the guy from Missouri, the guy from Arizona, whoever it ends up being. I think either or is going to be an interesting pick. But when you look at where the Jets are right now, the biggest need, I would say, there are two big needs, and it's not at receiver. It's just not. Right now, the two biggest needs are at right tackle and defensive tackle. You don't really have anyone in either spot outside of Quinnen Williams. You need someone to play with him, and you need a right tackle because right now you're going into a season with Max Mitchell and Carter Warren, and I don't think the Jets would trust that right now. I certainly think that they're going to try to do something, whether it be in free agency, whether they take Will Campbell, whoever it ends up being in the draft. But I think if you're looking at the top needs at this point, it's ugly. No one ever wants to see a team draft an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman, but it is absolutely the two biggest needs right now: right tackle and defensive tackle.
I just can't believe that at one point this offseason, I'm going to have to tweet out the Undertaker gif that Alan Lazard is back. And you're like, ha, 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 he's dead. And it's like, oh, what the? Alan Lazard? Well, what's going on here? So he could certainly be an option. This is absolutely wild. But hey, these are the waters that we're now swimming in. Now, we talked about this before the show. Also part of a Rich City update that they do these little blog updates on ESPN.com. And Tyler Conklin is not expected back with the team, despite there's been a lot of reports from a lot of people about there's mutual interest between the two. But apparently Tyler Conklin is garnering interest beyond the Jets from 5 different teams in free agency, and he is the best tight end left that's on the bingo card. And if he's not coming back, according to Rich Media, it doesn't look like he's coming back. I looked through PFF's top 200 free agents, and I went player by player by player. I said, well, how many tight ends are left? The answer to that question is 1. Evan Ingram, who's already visited with the Denver Broncos and the LA Chargers because he was released by the Jaguars, so he's already been able to visit teams. There is, besides Evan Ingram, there's not a single tight end in PFF's top 200 free agent big board. There's nothing left, and the only tight end on the Jets roster is Jeremy Ruckert. Good Lord. What are we doing, Nick? What's the plan here at tight end? This is incredibly scary, and it just like sort of struck me like a lightning bolt last night. Like, what? Wait, what?
How about Dallas Goedert for you guys? I think that's
a trade. Oh, okay.
Philadelphia is trying to create some salary cap for the future. They have the Jalen Carter extension coming out next offseason. They're going to have to pay Nolan Smith. They want to pay Nakobe Dean and Jordan Davis. Is there a possibility where Goddard at $11 million, $11 million, his cap hit this year, is it a possibility that he ends up getting moved? I think if you're the Jets and you're looking for a tight end, I wouldn't take one at 7. I think that's a little too high. But Goddard at 30 years old can still be a dependable pass target. There are some concerns. The cap hit is large, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy for a full 17 games over the last 4 years. But if you're looking for a quality tight end who is going to take advantage of every opportunity he gets and is very good with the ball in his hands and is also a good run blocker.
Yep, I think we lost Nick there for a second. That's all right. Again, Dallas Goedert as an option. Interesting. He is entering the last year of his deal here, is Dallas Goedert. Apparently, according to NFL insider Josina Anderson, the Eagles are looking for a 4th. They're looking for a 4th rounder, apparently, for one Dallas Goedert. All right, let me see if I can help out Nick here. All right. Nick, if you can hear me, we're going to kick you from the studio. You can just re-click the link. It looks like you're having some issues. So feel free to rejoin Nick Faria. Yeah, I would say Dallas Goedert obviously is sort of interesting as a guy. Okay, I think we got Nick back, so let's bring on Nick. Sorry, we lost you there, Nick. Hey, it's happening to both of us. Dallas Goedert, you were in the middle of giving us the pitch on Dallas Goedert. Continue.
Yeah, so again, 30 years old. He's entering the twilight years of his career in terms of productivity, but he's a very, very good run blocker, really good in the pass, excellent with the ball in his hands. He's a guy that you can trust to be a focal point in your offensive game plan and would really fit well with Justin Fields as he attacks the middle of the field. I think he can be the kind of guy Jets fans fall in love with really, really quick. The question's going to be the salary and the draft picks going back to Philly. The Eagles want a 4th-round pick. No one really wants to give that up for a tight end who hasn't played a full 17 games in 5 years. So it's going to be a question of what ends up happening here with Goddard in Philadelphia. He could be released. He could be traded. If he gets traded, Philadelphia could say, hey, we want to give him to a contender. We don't want to just put him in NFL Siberia, if you will. So there's going to have to be some give and take here. It's an interesting question, but if the Jets want a tight end and need a tight end to be competitive with Justin Fields at quarterback, Goddard is probably your best option that isn't going to cost a 1st-round pick.
All right, let's negotiate here, Nick. You obviously represent the Eagles. They've given you permission to speak on their behalf for this deal. Okay, you want a 4th. Yeah, okay. I want $1 billion. It hasn't happened yet, but maybe it will. How about a 7th? Would you take a 7th for old Goddard?
Here's the thing. I've already said goodbye to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson yesterday. I'm still reeling from that. I'm taking a 4th, or I'm keeping Goddard on the offense and saying, hey, we'll win our games 40-22 again, no problem.
Okay, you're bluffing, pal. We'll hold you out. We'll hold you out just like the Cooper Cup. We got some offers. There's a lot of interest. Okay, we'll see, pal. We'll see. But no, in all seriousness, I think you're right. Now that you look at free agency, and folks, I'm not kidding. If you look at PFF's top 200 board, because that's as high as it goes, I'm like, oh, well, what tight ends could be available? And I thought there was a sneaky name still gone, but Juwan Johnson and all these big names are all gone. Outside Tyler Conklin, who, again, is apparently not coming back to the Jets, according to Rich Cimini, and then Evan Ingram, who's already had multiple visits, so you're running out of time, it feels like, on that one. There's not a lot of options out there, which means you could get creative with the trade. Dallas Goedert is someone Nick Faria just mentioned. We've heard Michael Mayer is someone the Raiders are shopping. The Jets' old regime liked him a lot. Will that mean anything? I don't know. But, yeah, a trade may be the answer. And everyone keeps saying Tyler Warren, so I guess let me just spin that forward real quick, because Nick, you seem to suggest that Nick Faria at 7 isn't something that you'd want to have high on your list there. Like, I like Tyler Warren a lot, but if you enter that period and it's so bleeping obvious to everyone that you want Tyler Warren because you have no tight end, that's normally a bad spot to be in, because you can get got. People can trade ahead of you if they think they know what you're doing. And if Jeremy Ruckert is the leading tight end on the Jets by the time April comes, I think everyone's going to know that they want to go Tyler Warren at 7. So where are you at on Tyler Warren?
I wouldn't take him at all. I really wouldn't.
Wow.
And this isn't to say that he's a bad player. He's a really good player. Brock Bowers was a really good player. But the Jets made the right move when they drafted Olu Fashanu. They understood that the main issue they had was offensive line, and they needed to solve their left tackle problem for the future, and they did it because they understood that while Brock Bowers is really, really good, the Raiders don't have an offensive line. Now they have to try and find that offensive line and overpay for that offensive line in a bad free agent and draft class. Now, this isn't to say that every prospect in the draft is bad, but if you're the Jets and Will Campbell is available or Mason Graham is available at 7, along with Tyler Warren, why are you taking the tight end when you have bigger needs at tackle? Why are you taking a tight end when the trenches you have just seen in Super Bowl 59 can win you a Super Bowl? To me, what the Eagles showed this past year is the reinforcement that if you do not have complete control of the trenches, you're not going to really be in contention for a Super Bowl. The Commanders had all this great stuff. They were doing all this great stuff this past year. Jaden Daniels was excellent, one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time. Terry McLaurin was fantastic. They had a good collection of running backs. Their linebackers were solid, all that other stuff, and their defensive line was improving. The minute they got into a game against a team with a better offensive and defensive line, they got their teeth kicked in. If you're the Jets, I'm not taking a tight end and saying, well, we can attack the middle of the field now. It's an exciting pick. He can produce right away. I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at, I want to build a team that is going to overpower everyone else in the National Football League. And you can't do that at the tight end position when you have a glaring need at right tackle now that Morgan Moses is gone, and also at defensive tackle. We can also talk about the edge rusher, but if I am a team looking to pick in the first round. I'm looking, and I've said it before, the five positions you have to have in order to be successful: quarterback, receiver, offensive line, defensive line, corner. Those are the five. If you're taking any of those players in the first round, you have a solid roster understanding of what you need to do in order to improve. You're not taking a running back. You're not taking a tight end. You're not taking a safety either. Your team has to be perfect if you want to end up doing that, and the Jets are not perfect.
Well, agree to disagree. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, the Jets have a lot of holes. The thing that intrigues me is Dino Jeremiah on his conference call ahead of the combine referenced Tyler Warren as an extra offensive lineman. And because we have no idea who the hell is going to be playing right tackle for the Jets, with Morgan Moses now with the New England Patriots, you traitorous bastard. I'm sorry. I'm trying to work on that with my therapist. Tyler Warren surgically attached to whoever is playing right tackle out there as a permanent chip would be something that excites me. He seems to love run blocking, but I understand positional value. That's something that's going to mess around with a lot of people. MFC with a gifted membership, baby. Joseph Landis, you are now a member to the Boy Green Coffee Club. That's 6 raffle tickets for our guy MFC so far this month. So appreciate you. We'll also be opening up the phone lines here in just a little bit. So thank you so much, Mother effing Chew, for that present, that gift underneath the Christmas tree. Absolutely beautiful. So with free agency, and again, I wrote it in the piece, so I guess we could just address a lot of them. You even said it there with defensive tackle, but here are all the needs that the Jets still have in my mind for the team at the time of this show. These are starters. They need a right tackle. They need a tight end. They need a wide receiver. They need a defensive tackle. They need another safety. And I'm not saying all these have to be free agency, but those are starters they need. It's 5 starters. On top of that, you could talk depth. Pass rusher, I'd put in there. So starter depth, whichever you want to say. Pass rusher, offensive line at every position in terms of depth. Offensive tackle, guard, center, wide receiver, defensive tackle. Like, damn, that's a lot of hoopla. What do you believe now that we're in bargain mode? And it's funny, free agency technically hasn't even started yet. That's not coming until 4 o'clock today, for Pete's sake. So we'll see what happens here. But I'm curious, how much more is going to be attacked in free agency and how much more is going to be left for the draft of all that stuff the Jets still have on their bingo card?
I think they're going to be passively aggressive. And what I mean by that is they are going to solidify these moves. There's going to be solutions. Free agency is not over, and this does not mean that the Jets are going to just sit on their hands until the draft. That's not what's going to happen. But are they going to dish out $30-40 million on a player, on 2 players? Probably not. They're looking for the right value. And if I am the Jets, I am looking at the trenches. I'm looking at the depth of this team. And that's probably where I'm going right now. That's probably, trying to find some role players at tackle, trying to see if you can get an edge rusher to come in. We talked about Jermaine Johnson, and everyone looks and sort of discards the edge rusher need. But we have no guarantee. There is no guarantee that Jermaine Johnson is going to be able to walk in week 1 of the NFL season and be right back to where he was beforehand pre-injury. That's unrealistic to me from a fan base, from a coaching perspective, and the Jets' overall front office. They understand that it's going to take time for him to get fully acclimated back to football and football speed. I agree. I look and say edge rusher to me is a bigger need than people realize, because you need that third guy. You need that fourth guy. You're not going to trust Michael Clemens in that situation anymore. So you need to find a replacement there. There are holes on this roster where they should feel good about and understanding that they can solve in the second, third, or fourth round if they get some good players. You can also be confident that you're able to get those guys bargain shopping, as many teams do. Zach Bond last year was at a 1-year, $3 million deal. $3 million for a first-team All-Pro linebacker. These guys exist, and you can find them in free agency. It's just a matter about hitting the right player at the right position for your system and for your team.
Yeah, a free agent I have circled is Azeez Ojulari, the former New York Giant. He's available to be picked, to be signed, rather. And I agree. We don't know what we're going to get back from Jermaine Johnson. I love Jermaine Johnson, the player. I love his mentality. I love everything about him. I think he's going to vibe very well with what Aaron Glenn brings to the table. But obviously, another pass rusher is going to have to be added to the rotation. I don't think there's any question about it. And more love needs to be thrown at that, just as Nick Faria said here. We got this question in, and we've gotten a few of them. Shout out to Jared B., our moderator in the chat. Do they extend Garrett Wilson? And I'll throw Sauce Gardner into this as well, because J.C. Horn is now the highest paid defensive back in football. And didn't have that on the old bingo card at $25 million plus. Are the Jets going to be proactive here, signing either Sauce or Garrett Wilson this offseason, Nick Faria?
Yes, and they better, because they're going to run out of time. You don't want to be like the Dallas Cowboys who are just sitting on their hands watching the price for Micah Parsons go through the roof. They don't want to be the Cincinnati Bengals watching T. Higgins and Jamar Chase demand money that would make them the highest non-quarterback in NFL history. All these things are happening to the Bengals and Cowboys. You do not want it to happen to your team. You get ahead of this, so that way in 2-3 years, that's a deal that is underpaid for what production they are putting out there on the field. Sauce will get paid and Garrett Wilson will get paid. That's always been my prediction. Both deals are going to get done. The Jets have done great work in sort of giving the olive branch to both, bringing in his college quarterback in the case of Garrett Wilson, surrounding Sauce Gardner with players that he can trust and get excited about. You saw the comments after Andre Sisco signed. Both players seem to have bought into this new regime, and it was smart for the Jets to do that. Now it's about locking them up long term, and they better get that done as soon as possible.
Random question here. The paint is dry, as they say. Why did the Jets franchise tag DJ Reed and then trade his ass somewhere? They had the resources technically to be able to do it, to franchise tag him temporarily. I see no one else is going to be doing tag and trade unless the T. Higgins things comes to existence. ESPN had DJ Reed ranked as the number one overall free agent available at any position after some of the people that were signed in-house never made it to free agency. When it was updated right before free agency, again, it hasn't even officially kicked off, but the legal tampering period, DJ Reed was number one on the list. Why didn't they tag and trade him and get an asset for him?
The franchise tag would have been what for him? 22 million?
20 million? Yeah, let me make sure I get that accurate number up. But yes, I believe it's like 20 million and change.
That's 20 million that immediately comes off the books the minute they put that money to it. That 20 million could have gone to other players that they felt they could bring in. They are paying. DJ Reed's contract right now is significantly more than Brandon Stephens. They got cheaper. They got a solid player. I'm not saying he's as good as DJ Reed, but they got a solid starter for less money. You hope that with Sauce Gardner on the other side, with Michael Carter, and with a secondary coaching staff that is one of the best in football, that they're able to coach him up and be able to develop him the proper way. I look and say, listen, you pick up the comp pick that came with the DJ Reed leaving to Detroit, and then you say, okay, thank you, third, fourth round pick. Let's move forward to another player, and from there, because there's no reason to eat up $20 million right away when you could use that money for free agents that they were clearly high on, Sisco, Stevens, Fields, and move forward like that. You never want to tag and trade because that takes time, and that means $20 million would have been off the books, and that money could have gone to so many other different things. Fair
enough. Zach Wilson is back in the AFC East as the new primary backup quarterback to Tua. He got a $6 million deal 1 year, fully guaranteed, and it has incentives to get up to $10 million. And the incentives are important to know for a guy like Zach Wilson because Tua can never stay healthy, which means we could get Zach Wilson eventually returning to MetLife Stadium as the Dolphins quarterback. What in God's green earth? So I throw it over to you. Zach Wilson being back in the AFC East, your reaction to that, and specifically being in Miami with Tua's injury history, Zach Wilson is not that far out from being on the field for the Dolphins.
No, and I believe he got paid right around $4 million. So that's kind of where the immediate backup money is. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him and how he develops with Mike McDaniel. He's got a good offensive-minded head coach, so maybe he'll be able to help out in terms of his overall development. But when I look at where the Jets are, I don't think they're going to be worried too much about this. I think, Tyreek Hill's getting older. Jalen Waddle hasn't been healthy. There's a lot of problems in Miami. They just lost Javon Holland. They're losing a lot of great players in free agency. They're having to move them because of the salary cap. I don't consider them much of a threat right now, and really anymore. And if the Jets build this the right way, they could eclipse Miami in a year or two.
All right, there you go. By the way, happy birthday to Mr. Fulton. He is 26 today. Happy, 26. I remember that one a bunch of years ago. Good times. But Mr. Fulton enjoyed the hell out of it as a 26-year-old. Salute, my friend. Another one, we talked about this before the show, but before we open up the phone lines, Aaron Rodgers. It was funny at the end of the season. There was people questioning, is he going to have any home? Is anyone going to be interested in Aaron Rodgers? And then all of a sudden, certain moves happen, and now apparently a cajillion teams are interested. The Giants are interested. Pittsburgh's interested. And, well, Rodgers might be interested in Minnesota. I'm not sure if that's a mutual feeling there. But where does Aaron Rodgers end up in 2025, Nick Faria?
I think it's Pittsburgh. He could go to Minnesota and complete the Brett Favre arc. But I also think that they really want to see what they have in J.J. McCarthy. I don't think they're going to go all in on signing a 40-year-old quarterback and saying, hey, you're going to start right away. And Rodgers doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to essentially get into a quarterback competition with a player, a first-round pick that the team is clearly high on. I think it ends up being Pittsburgh because of DK Metcalf, because of George Pickens. The offensive line is at least a little bit better than it was. And then, of course, you look at their defense, and it's still pretty solid. He obviously respects Mike Tomlin. Arthur Smith is going to be an interesting conundrum there with Aaron Rodgers. But the Steelers kind of have their backs to the wall here. They make the playoffs. They finish over 500, and they do absolutely nothing with it. They get blown out in every single playoff game they're in. And the excuse that has been given for the Steelers and Mike Tomlin is that he doesn't have a quarterback. He doesn't have a quarterback. If he was given a quarterback like Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, then he would be as successful as Andy Reid or John Harbaugh. Well, if you're able to get Aaron Rodgers, he can clearly still throw the football, so there should be no excuse for the for the Steelers to be successful when and if they bring in Aaron Rodgers. I think that's the most logical connection. I know the Giants are still in play because they don't know if they're going to be able to trade up to the first overall pick for Cam Ward, but if it's between the Giants and the Steelers, Rodgers is taking the Steelers all day. He's not going to a sinking ship like this again.
The Jets host the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2025. Nick Faria, are we having a future primetime game? Season opener? When are we having this?
I don't believe it will be the season opener, but if there's a game on the Jets schedule that will end up in primetime, that's probably the one.
Yeah, it sort of feels like it. If people are sick of hearing about Aaron Rodgers, I've got bad news for you. Today's the official new league year kicking off at 4 o'clock. And we're 4:01, 30 seconds in, Nick. I feel like that's the expectation when the Aaron Rodgers got cut by the Jets is going to be officially official, right?
Yeah, I'd certainly say so.
Okay. All right, there you go. All right, and now let's work our way over to the phone lines. We'll take a quick HEP timeout here, and you guys can be able to call into the show and ask Nick all your questions in a very respectful manner, I'm certain. So with that being said, a quick HEP timeout. We got the phone lines next.
Boy Green, daily, daily. Talking Jets football, man. Boy Green, daily, daily. New York Jets Football Club. Offense, defense, special teams, watch Jets football with Boy Green. J-E-T-S, Jets. Let's go.
Hit the like button, maybe, as number one Austrian Jet fan says in the comment section. That's a free way to contribute to the show and spread the gospel of all things Boy Green Daily. Salute to the one and only HEP baby here on the program. If you'd like to call into the show, that is the pinned comment on youtube.com/BoyGreen25. By the way, we've surged well over 7,500 subscribers, and one lucky subscriber will be getting the knock from me. It's sort of like the Hall of Fame knock, but not quite. And we'll be giving away a free piece of autographed New York Jets memorabilia. So stay tuned to your social media portals. I'll be drawing that at random off air this week, and I'll be reaching out to you to get your shipping information to send that over to you. So we'll do our next free giveaway at 8,000 subscribers. So guys, keep subscribing and spreading the love, baby. And also send in those raffle tickets throughout the entire month of March. Every $2.99 you spend on this channel, whether it's super chats or whether it's gifted, you have an opportunity to win this. Throw it up on the the big board. New York Jets patched out pullover hoodie, a Super Bowl prize pack, multiple unique items from Super Bowl past, and a custom laser engraving package of Boy Green logos and Jets logos all merged together. It's beautiful. Without further ado, let's go to the phone lines, baby. And we've got the one and only Chef Kevin Gilbert with some nice breakfast. What are we eating, Chef? What do we got going on there?
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing?
How you doing?
Not too shabby. Love the green color. It's nice.
Hey, man, it's St. Patrick's Day, man. It's
Hey.
it's rolling around this coming Monday, man. You know we're Irish over here at the Cloverleaf.
Ah, yes.
We
okay.
actually had a bunch of people, man. We actually turned to a bakery, and
Oh.
we produced a lot of Irish soda bread this past night. We banged out a 300 loaves, and when I
Good
actually
Lord.
got some right now, or
Ooh.
whatever. Just sampling, making sure the quality control is up to par and all that.
Well, I just want to say this. I wish the technology existed where you could just kind of, send that through a little slot and it just kind of boop, boop, pops out right here. I would love to help poison test all of that food because that's the kind of guy I am. I wish that
Word.
technology existed, maybe in due time. Yeah.
It'll happen in our lifetime
Yeah, I can't wait.
at some point.
That'd be great.
But BG, man, thank you so much for your free agency coverage so far,
Sure.
or the stuff that
Yeah,
you've
man.
been doing, man. Highly appreciate it, man. Your shows are always entertaining, always insightful. Nick, man, I haven't seen you since your Super Bowl win, so I just want to congratulate you and
Thank
your
you.
guys, man. Y'all did your thing. I do agree with you when it comes to building the trenches. Is just at this point, man, I'm concerned about moving the ball. Like we could block as much as we want on offense when we're passing it, but if we don't have anybody that can actually catch the ball and move the chains, I feel like we're doing ourselves a disservice. And then on defense, I definitely feel you on Jermaine coming back and having the expectations like when he was a Pro Bowler. Um, I think that is fair. I do feel like he will come back strong. And if that's the case, having McDonald, having Quinnen, and then just throwing another dude that we can get in the draft, either in the second or third round, I think that will be useful. But for me, man, I really feel like at this point, I don't feel like it's smart to trade up to get a quarterback at this point. I feel like we do have Fields, who is definitely who was the best option in free agency, not named Sam Darnold. I feel like we do have a good dude. Um with Ruckert, I know with him having a lot of hype in Ohio, being a great run blocker. He wasn't known for having hands and getting a whole bunch of touchdowns because that Ohio State team, they did a really good job in the run and then the play action. A lot of boot plays. But I don't know if Fields can turn Ruckert around, man. That's my thing. So at this point, if Ruckert can turn around, we don't have Conklin. I feel like Warren is the best option, just knowing that he can help play make. He is a big body, man. He could maul people in the run game, obviously in the passing game, and then just like what I was saying about on defense for our line, we got four strong linemen right now. If we could just get somebody in either the second or third round at the line, then we plug in Tyler Warren. I feel like the line would be doing a pretty good job, and then you can also have Warren sneak out into the flats and move the chains as well.
You can get Chef. I'm not going to disagree with that premise, but in one of the deepest tight end classes of all time, you don't have to take one at 7 for him to be a dependable starting tight end. The other piece that I think is very important, you're saying that you have concerns about moving the ball, and very, very fair. It's fair to also point out that the Super Bowl winning team this year had the 29th ranked passing offense in football. They ran the ball better than everybody. And it showed that you can win a Super Bowl still by playing good defense and running the football. As long as you have a quarterback that doesn't make mistakes, you can do it that way. That's what it showed this past year. They were able to knock off really good teams along the way. So if you're the Jets, who do you want more? Do you want the offensive line fully secured for the next 4 or 5 years? Do you want to make sure that you have a defensive lineman that can pair with Quinn Williams for the next 4 or 5 years? Or do you want a tight end at 7 who will put butts in the seats and put up some points, but at the expense of having a really good, really quality offensive line. Of course, the Jets can sit there and put in a second or third round rookie at right tackle, and he can be serviceable. But a first round tackle, the potential there is so much more than a second or third round pick. And I think that's what people forget about here. It's the difference between someone like Lane Johnson and Kingsley Sumiata of the Kansas City Chiefs. Sumiata, they're hoping becomes a solid quality offensive lineman in Kansas City. Lane Johnson was the 4th overall pick and has played like that throughout his career. You get what you pay for in players. You get what you pay for in value. A top first-round offensive lineman can change everything around for a franchise, particularly if you already have the 4 other positions solved like the Jets do.
Hey, the only extra name I'll throw in there, Trey Smith was a 6th-round pick, and he just became the highest-paid offensive lineman in NFL history on his per-year basis. So sometimes you can have a 4-leaf clover shoved up an orifice.
I also feel like too that guard we could go that route and wait a little bit longer. Moving AVT around, I get all that, but when he was at tackle, at right tackle, he was pretty good. So I feel like we could still pop him out to tackle and then just go get a guard. And knowing how good our center last year, Tippmann, did, I feel like just plugging somebody in between Tip and AVT and then having Warren on the side as well, like that will really help, especially in the run game, man. And then you could just have Simpson pulling if we're going to the right, and that just adds more blockers and frees up Brees to create, and then give a play action option for Fields rolling out to the right. But then it's like Mason Graham, like I feel like he would be like really good on defense, like pairing him right next to Quinn, and that could really like solidify the fort. So I'm kind of conflicted, but at the same time, it's like just trust Aaron Glenn that he'll put the bodies in the positions to make the stops, and then focus on the offense. Because right now, man, I really feel like offense is in a dire need, man.
No question about it, Chef. Well, Chef, as always, appreciate all your insights and your food. I can't wait to sink my teeth in at some point in the very near future, for the love of God. Might have to drive up there right now, quite frankly. Chef, we always appreciate it, brother.
Have a good one, guys. Salute to the coffee club. Have a good one.
There he is. Chef Kevin Gilbert, baby. A loyal member to the Boy Green Coffee Club. Always sharing his support. And speaking of support, we got a couple of memberships raining in from the high heavens, baby. Philium, a.k.a. FL Phil 98, baby. And another one, MFC Toot Mother. Members of the Boy Green Coffee Club. Philium gave out his membership that went to Thunder Lips, and MFC went to Dick Chimney's Burner. Wonderful. So there you go. Philium, have 3 raffle tickets so far this month and 7 for you, MFC. So thank you guys so much for the gosh darn support. It's terrific. Thanks for holding the fort on the program. All right, let's go over to EZ on the show, our resident OC.
Hey, how you doing?
Well, dandy. Peachy.
How the hell did they screw up not signing Morgan Moses when they had a chance to at the end of the season? That was bad. It was bad.
Easy. Let me ask you.
I understand he's older. I get that. But he was solid. This is the type of guy you want on your team because he sets an example. He's a team leader. I mean, he'll play with a hernia. He'll play with a torn bicep. This guy will play and still be good. This is and he's a teacher. I mean, he was good. I mean, yeah, he's old, but for one more year to keep him, that would have been all right. Just to keep
that's the question right there.
Offensive line continuity.
That's the question. Nick Faria may have insights on this. The Patriots gave him a 3-year deal at 34 years of age for $24 million. That's to be honest, I love Morgan. To me, if they would have said, "Hey, Paul, Morgan must for your job," I'd be like, "Ooh." I'm not so sure I'm willing to do 3 years at his age and the questionable injury history. He was an NFL.
If I'm Morgan Moses, I grab that deal and laugh.
Yeah,
if I'm Morgan Moses, I grab that deal and laugh all the way to the bank.
And he did. All the way. He took that deal.
I know. I said that was the Jets' fault for not signing him before the end of the season last year.
Well, it takes two to tango. Well, it's
Yeah.
not just that they can't just give him an offer and he's like, oh, yes, sir, I'll take the deal. He knew that there was a chance that this was going to come crazy. And people are, I guess, did not hear the Morgan Moses contract. Yeah, folks, it is 3 years, $24 million for people like freaking out in the comments. It's 100% what the Patriots gave him as a contract. And that's a lot of money. And I don't blame Morgan for taking it, quite frankly.
And let's be honest.
Yeah.
Let's be fair about this. Easy, just going off of your response. He said, well, I want Morgan Moses, but why didn't you sign him for a year or two? Well, I'm sure the Jets tried, but a year or two is not a 3-year contract from the New England Patriots. And again, we can argue if it's an overpay, but when you're 34 years old and you have a contract that is essentially going to pay you until 37 at the right tackle position, he's going to be retired by then. He probably will be, and he's still going to get paid for that. That money is still owed to him. So I look at it from the perspective of the Jets. They could have done they probably did what they could with Morgan Moses, but they weren't going to give him that contract. If they gave him that contract, everyone around would be saying, what the hell are you doing? Why are you giving a 34-year-old right tackle 3 years of a contract? It's only 1 or 2. The Patriots went more. They went longer because they have the ability to go longer, because they have more cap space. That's not a reflection on the Jets. It's a reflection on the fact that the Patriots were really bad and have been really bad for a long time. It's to me, yes, Morgan Moses would have been a great starting right tackle for the team this year. But if another team was going to offer him multi-years, like 3 years like he got, it's a no contest. The Jets were going to let him walk. It was always going to be that way.
And that's just what I would say. For me, again, I love Morgan Moses. From 2016, since he entered the league, to 2022, he was an NFL Ironman. He didn't miss a start. He was phenomenal. And he's tough as nails. I'm not questioning that either. The last 2 years, he's missed 6 total games. He tore his pec and messed up his knee really bad with the Jets and powered through because he's a tough son of a gun. So I love Morgan Moses. But for 3 years, that's just way more than I would have wanted. If I brought in Morgan, I would have signed Morgan to like a 1-year deal in my magical head and then drafted a guy and let them compete. Let's just see what happens. But a 3-year deal is just crazy money. Easy's back. He lost his signal. So go ahead, Easy.
Yeah. Hey, the other thing, you got me? You guys here?
Yes. Yeah.
The other thing is, all right, there's 2 ways you could go on the O-line, the way I'm looking at it. I know everyone says you can kick AVT out to right tackle. I'd rather keep him at guard, but if you're going to kick him out to right tackle, and you love Tippmann, well, Tippmann can play guard. So are there any centers out there that are really good, that are like team captain quality, that we could get and then kick, just kick? I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not an advocate for this. Understand? Don't send me hate texts because I'm suggesting this. I'm just looking at options. Get a center and kick both of those guys to the right, one spot.
No, that's not what I wanted to hear. I want to hear a Jet fan have the conviction to say what everyone's been thinking. If you're going to move AVT to guard, there's one more guard available in free agency that is actually a pretty solid one and had a pretty good year. Have the conviction to say it.
Shut up. Come on. I will say this.
I don't think, the only reason he may come back to the Jets is because Salah and all those knuckleheads are gone.
I think that bridge is
Keith Carter is gone.
Yeah.
Keith Carter was probably the biggest reason the Jets sucked. He was like he was the worst coach on 2 other teams before he came to us.
Everyone that F Sam Darnold has gone to, and yet Sam went, no thanks. The whole vibe he wasn't about, and he wasn't going to do it. So no, I don't think.
I don't blame Sam.
Well, what would be different
Sammy,
about
I would have tried to go to L.A. If I was Sammy, I'd have tried to go to the
L.A. where?
To the Rams. Yeah, the Rams.
Yeah, they have Matthew, but they have Stafford.
But he's old now. I mean, I love Matt. He's still great. But if I was Donald, I'd have gone there and just waited around a year. Stafford's older. He could have got hurt. Donald could have moved right in and then kept the damn job.
Well,
and he would have been home.
Say it easy.
And then he would have been home.
Have the conviction to say it. I want Becton as my right guard.
No, That's not it. That's not happening. Now, I will say, Easy, I'll bring up your point here that you're talking about all this musical chairs from the offensive line. If this was a Madden video game, sure. Let's put Jim Bob Cooter at left tackle. Let's put this guy at right guard, this guy at center, this guy all over the place. For me, personally, I don't want to do the moving around. Robert Saleh, and again, Robert Saleh said a lot of dumb stuff at press conferences, so maybe this is just another nugget on the list. When AVT got hurt a lot, he was moving to multiple positions a lot. Saleh was asked, do you believe, Robert Saleh, at the time when he was the head coach, did that contribute to his injuries? Do you believe, or were they just random injuries and he just so happened to be moving positions? Robert Saleh said he believes the moving around of positions contributed to the injury. Whether that's true or not, I'm not a doctor. I got no freaking clue, but he believed it did. AVT stays at one position last year. He's fully healthy. Wow. Coincidence? Maybe. I don't know. I understand the thought that Easy is saying, though. It's easier to find a guard than it is a tackle. And Elijah Vera Tucker has already proven that he could be a really good right tackle. And he's in the last year of his deal. So more money's coming. So all of that, like I said, makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm not for moving ABT to right tackle, but we can have a very hearty discussion about it, and maybe you can sway my opinion. This Joe Tippmann to guard nonsense, it needs to stop. And Easy, I know you sometimes just call into the show and float out ideas, and I'm not just championing it as your own, but to me, I don't want everyone learning Guatemalan. Learn your one position and be really good at it. Joe Tippmann, be the center. Be as great of a center as you could possibly be. He played a little bit of guard in his rookie season, but he's been a center outside of that predominantly. Let's keep him there. We could talk about ABT to tackle and then bring in a guard. We could do that. But moving two guys, that to me just makes no sense whatsoever. So we'll see what happens from that perspective. Again, to the point, Mekhi Becton. Let me ask you, Eagles boy, Nick Faria, with the move that traded your boy, I'm sorry to bring it up, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and getting Kmart over there, Kenyon Green from the Texans. That's the replacement for Becton? So he's gone?
Not necessarily. Philadelphia is one of the rare teams that looks and says, hey, we're going to have 8 starting caliber linemen, and we're going to just throw them on the roster, and anyone who doesn't play will be ready to go in case an injury happens. I think there's a possibility. There's still a possibility Becton stays. And again, I want to preface, that's clearly a joke here. I'm not saying that the Jets are going to re-sign Becton for him to play guard. I think that ship has sailed. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think both sides want to move on. I do think that if there's a player in free agency this year that takes a team-friendly deal, it's probably Becton because of what Philadelphia was able to do with him and how beloved he was in the locker room. But as of right now, I would say Green is probably penciled in as a starting right guard. If they can get the money right with Becton, they'll re-sign him and move forward there. But they're a team that always brings in 8 to 9 guys, and they keep them there, and they just roll with them the entire season. And I think that could certainly happen here as well.
Yeah, if I'm Mekhi Becton, I don't know how many Jet fans want to hear this, but if I'm Mekhi Becton, I'm finding permanent residence in the Philadelphia area. As long as Stoutland is the offensive line coach, I want to stay with the Eagles forever. Now, I would understand if he wants to parlay, he got a championship, and maybe, some people never get a championship. So the fact that he has one Super Bowl ring, maybe that's all he needs, and he could go get the biggest bag he possibly can from anyone. He doesn't give a shit where he goes. He'd play in Saskatchewan. He doesn't care. I don't know if this is really true. I'm just saying those are his options of staying in Philadelphia and saying, hey, I found something here. This is my new home. Or just going whoever will, mercenary style, go over wherever someone will pay me the most money. It will be interesting to see with that being the case. Dave Brigger asked, by the way, did ABT escape last season without a major lingering injury? Yes, he did not. So God bless. That's great news there for ABT. All right, let's go back to the phone lines here. We've got Johnny Boy here on the program. What's up, Johnny?
Hey, what's going on, BG? Good morning, Nick. How are you guys?
How you doing, Johnny?
Hey, is that Cashmere? What's going on there?
He looks so dapper today.
Yeah, quite. Are you on a movie set? What's happening?
Heading to the office, so I gotta, get dressed up. But hey, so I have a question for you guys, right? So since we're kind of playing, musical chairs and everything, why not move Quinnen Williams into the center position? Because I heard that he could play both sides of the ball, and Garrett Wilson to play corner too, just in case if any injury occurs. Or thoughts on that?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Where do you want to play Justin Fields? My radio partner yesterday said he'd be a better running back. What do you think, Nick? Where should everybody go?
Well, if you're going to do the remember the Titans thing, I certainly think that Justin Fields would be a great safety as well.
Oh, nice.
So all that's up in the air. But yeah,
I love Sunshine. Yeah, where's Sunshine playing? That's what I want to know. Where's Sunshine playing? Okay, good. Glad we figured that out.
The real question I wanted to ask you guys, right? Edge with JJ that we kind of is up in the air and we don't know. And it looks like all the edges in free agency that are worth anything are kind of taken, right? But there's some guys that are still out there. Do you think we're going to go edge in the draft in the later rounds, or potentially we are going to bring one of these free agents in the actual organization itself? But I want
double dip, baby. Thoughts. Yeah, I appreciate that, Johnny. Thanks for the call. Yeah, I would say a double dip. Again, I mentioned a name earlier, Azeez Ojulari. His PFF projection, again, these aren't always real, but it's like a one-year deal for like $5 or $6 million. Why wouldn't you take that chance on the 25-year-old and bring him in? And of course, the draft is always rich at certain positions. If you have a guy you like in the middle rounds, take another shot. So 1,000%. I would love a double dip at pass rusher. Nick?
You want to double dip at certain positions. It's always receiver and edge rusher. So I completely agree.
By the way, we have Gator McCluskey coming in. Said, BG, you should have some sort of a shadow realm to send Burger King microphone guy when he suggests Sam Darnold should have turned down $100+ million instead to take a backup role with the Rams. Killer take. That did get me a little. That he should have just went to the Rams and waited a year as a backup, and then he's the Matthew Stafford guy. Yeah, that one's one of a kind. That's for sure. All right, let's get in another phone call here. We'll see, Gator, if somehow someone has a coffee club equivalent of Shadow Realm and we can rip off the Jake Asman show. Sure. I'll try to work that into the rotation. Let's get another caller in. Philium, FL Phil 98, baby's been in the gifting mood, and now he's gifting us with his knowledge and insights. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Morning.
I just wanted to.
Here we go.
Baby. I only wanted to jump on really because today is really the beginning of free agency.
Right.
And people are putting stuff in the comments about all the holes we got and that we're going to win 5 games this year and all this stuff. And, I mean, good God, man, pump the brakes, fellas. We're just getting started. I agree with some of the criticism about, did we overpay a little bit for Stevens? But if you look at, day one, man, there was a lot of surprising numbers out there. Nobody was talking about 20 million for Fields. And, there was a couple of guys who got big money that shocked me. I mean, look at what Kinlaw got.
Kinlaw made $45 million in 3 years.
That's ridiculous.
I'm still all over the place over that.
Wait, we're going to be getting comp picks for Hassan Reddick. He got $12 million guaranteed. I'm like, what? Javon Kinlaw, $45 million? What is going on?
You're getting I think you might get a higher comp pick for Kinlaw than Reddick. That's insanity.
Yeah. It is insanity. So, maybe we're going to overpay here and then get lucky there and whatever. And I know, like, you could go down the list of all the holes we got, and there are plenty. 2 things I kind of wanted to get to here really was, there was a lot of talk about whether we should be talking about win now, right? And,
yes,
he got some criticism. Glenn got some criticism for saying, he came to win now.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to the Super Bowl this year, okay? If it's miracles happen, right? Who knows, man? You could be, 5 undrafted free agents that turn out to be stars. Who knows, right? But what the guy's trying to do is put a contending team on the field, maybe break that playoff drought, get us set up to be a contender as soon as possible, and I got to trust him. If he thought that this was the signing he wanted to make for the kind of money, him and Muji, man, we're just getting started. Have a little faith. There's music in the night. We ain't a beauty, but we're going to be all right. Let's just have some fun, man. Calm down, everybody. And by the way, June, we're going to pick up the scraps in June too. So right now, if at the end of free agency, the draft and everything, we're still talking about we got 3 or 4 major needs. We're gonna sift through the junk pile. We're gonna spend the little money we got left, and we're just gonna do the best we can this year, man.
That's it. And Philium, you said you had one other point. You said you had 2 points you wanted to make. What was point number 2?
It's probably under my hat.
Okay, that's
I think
all right.
The first point was him talking about the overpaid free agents like Javon Kinlaw.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Maybe that was it. So, okay.
Maybe it was a combination of, the overpaying that seems to be a thing this year. The cap went up. Whatever the reason is, there have been some surprising, and the one guy everybody thought was going to get 50 million got 30, so who the hell knows, right? I didn't think you were getting Darnold for that.
How did they get him for that? I just don't understand. I just it's just stunning.
Kubiak.
What do you mean?
They got the money.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess.
I kind of wondered about that a little bit too. Is Darnold the kind of guy who'd rather, go play for a mediocre team in a smaller market? He's got life-changing money. But he's not going to have to be that guy. Is that maybe some of the psyche? I don't know.
Yeah, because he's on the West Coast now. He's back on the West Coast. So the Seattle stuff, I think that makes sense. The market is nothing to what it is in New York, obviously, and some of the other places he played. So, yeah, there's something to that. Go ahead, Nick.
The other point to it is he's going for the right system. He wants to play for a team that he knows has his best interests at heart in putting him in an offense that he thinks he can work to success. Kubiak, that relationship is pretty strong. So I look at that as he chose Seattle, even though they may not have as many weapons, because he knows the offensive system and he can be successful in it even without a number 1 receiver.
Right. Gotcha. All right. I don't want to take too much time, Paul. You guys take care. Have a great day.
Appreciate it, Philium. Thank you so much. And Nick Faria, thanks as always for joining us. We'll catch you next week, my friend.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, there he is, Nick Faria, Jets reporter. I do want to end on that point that Philium just made, because I think it's important to revisit this. So when Aaron Glenn was hired at his introductory press conference, that was 2 months ago, believe it or not, in January. He talked about win now. I came here to win. Everywhere I've ever been, I've won. Win now, win now, win now. Daramucci, win now, win now, win now. Combine, win now, win now, win now. The criticism that AG and Darren Mucci received about win now was they were saying win now and they didn't have a quarterback. Now, of course, they could have had their plan, and I assume by all accounts, it seems like from all the insider reports, their priority number 1, A, B, C, D, E was Justin Fields. And if so, God bless, they got their plan. So now the messaging to me is different, because when you're claiming win now and you don't know who the hell your quarterback is, you're like, oh boy, what's the win now plan? Because when you say win now, expectations, of course, increase. And people say, what was he supposed to say? Lose now? Well, no, you just don't have to say anything. You don't have to say win now, lose now, anything. You just say, when they're like, hey, what are expectations? We want to be better than we were yesterday. That's Robert Sala's line. If you go to bed here and you wake up here, oh boy, that's it. It's just everyday grinding. He had all those Salah-isms where he didn't talk about Super Bowls and this, that, or the other. So AG could have done that and he didn't. So I found it interesting. But now I agree with the overall Philium point. Win now, Justin Fields. Now, people are going to chuckle at that when they hear it, but if this Jets team, and obviously they do, from Aaron Glenn, Darren Mucci, and the most important piece to this puzzle is Tanner Angstrand, the offensive coordinator. Obviously, and hopefully we get this from One Jets Drive, whenever that comes out later this offseason, that we hear from the Jets that say, hey, man, Tanner Angstrand was pounding the table behind the scenes saying, Justin Fields is the guy for my system. Guys, I could get more out of Justin Fields than anyone else has gotten. Believe me. Tanner Angstrand pounding on the table. Then he deserves the benefit of the doubt. And let's see what this Justin Fields operation looks like, because now they do have a quarterback who's 26 years of age, who's impressionable. His picture is not complete. That you can sell me on Justin Fields. You can sell me on turning him around. It would have been a lot more difficult if you signed Carson Wentz or Marcus Mariota and said, hey, Jet fans, believe, win now. I'd be like, oh boy. But Justin Fields, you keep building this picture. We still got the draft. We still have free agency to officially kick off at 4:00 later today. There are more moves to be made. So I'll be curious to see how that picture comes together. You could sell me now on win now with what this process looks like with Justin Fields. It would have been more difficult without another guy. So AG certainly has some stock there, and we'll see. This is their plan, Justin Fields. Will it work? Will it not? I guess we'll see. Thank you to the 800 people that are currently in the room right now. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe. Let's keep spreading the gospel of all things Boy Green Daily. We're live every single day at 7:30 in the morning. And every time the Jets make a free agent edition, we have a shorter form video that's in our YouTube section reacting to every move with some insights or analysis or some sort of a nugget of some sort on whoever the Jets are adding and why it's either good, bad, or indifferent. So make sure you guys are always stay tuned to the channel. Hit the bell notification, and every time a video gets uploaded, you guys will get a notification for it. Well, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Again, if more free agent editions happen, we'll be jumping back on the channel in a little bit. We'll be live again tomorrow morning on a Thursday. We also have Boy Green Meets Woody tomorrow. Green Bean will be joining James Woody at 3 o'clock. I'm very much looking forward to that on the channel as well. Well, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you to everyone who watches after the fact or listens after the fact in the audio-only version. We appreciate you. God bless. Go Jets. And let's see what other splashes are out there for the NYJ. Take